balloons, bazookas, boobies, bosoms, boulders, cans, hooters, knockers, melons, honkers, jugs, rack, tatas, tits, torpedoes, guns, bust, doorknobs, coconuts, and our favorite one, the girls. Welcome to the All About Breastfeeding show, where your host, Lori, highlights mothers just like yourself and goes beyond the surface questions and digs deep so they share not only their joys and happiness in their daily breastfeeding life, but also their pain and struggles and how they worked through them.
Episode number 132. Welcome to All About Breastfeeding, the place where the girls hang out. I am your host, Lori Jill Eisenstadt, IBCLC, which stands for International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. Did you know that you can be a part of the All About Breastfeeding community Facebook group? All you need to do is do a search on Facebook for these 4 words, All About Breastfeeding Community, and press the button to join us. Last I checked this morning, there were several conversations going on as moms posted concerns about keeping up a good supply when returning back to work. This is a common problem, as once you return to work and your baby is not directly breastfeeding, it can become a struggle for some mothers to maintain their supply. Sometimes it's the pump they're using, it's not as effective. Sometimes moms just cannot pump as frequently during their workday as they really need to in order to maintain their supply. For some mothers, leaving their baby causes some degree of stress that causes an issue with their supply. One of our members posted her struggles, and then other mothers posted some words of support, advice, and suggestions. A few days later, she came back to the group and posted what worked for her. There is so much to learn from each other, and nothing like hearing it from moms in the trenches. And I am incredibly humbled that members of the group take time out of their busy lives to respond to other mothers' questions. Thank you all so much. One more item to talk about before getting on to the show today. I have just begun to let everyone know about my new membership site, which is called All About Mothering. I have talked about my fantasy of every neighborhood having a special street with a dead end, like a cul-de-sac, where all moms can go to meet other moms. Many pregnant moms, we have so many questions and so many decisions to make during pregnancy, and so many mothers tell me they feel all alone, and they don't even know where to begin. There's no personal guide holding your hand, explaining all the little steps along the way. There is things like what care provider, physician, midwife, naturopath, what about all the prenatal testing, so many decisions to make. What classes should I take? There are so many different kinds of childbirth classes. How do you decide? What's the differences between them? And things like preparing for a newborn in the household. What are some of the need to know? You see, for years, I have observed that so many mothers, and they tell me all the time, that they are so much in the thick of things like new motherhood, and they feel isolated and alone, that once they have their baby, they are commonly in a bit of shock as to the workload of newborn mothering, as well as feeling somewhat out of their element as they try and figure out what is going on with their body and with their baby. You quickly realize that you have so many questions that you never even thought about before during your pregnancy. Questions like your baby's sleeping and eating habits. What is normal? What should you be worried about? What are those rashes on your newborn's skin? That is a question I get asked all the time. And interestingly enough, there is something called baby acne. Yes, baby acne. And if you didn't know about it ahead of time, believe me, if you're like the rest of us, you just freak out when you lay your baby down and their skin is soft and smooth, and you go to pick them up a few hours later, and they look like they have some awful disease. See? You would freak out too. Come on, wouldn't you? I know I did when my first baby had baby acne. I dreamed of a place where you can learn all about mothering from other mothers who are at all different stages of motherhood. My greatest wish is that no mother is left behind, and no mother was ever left feeling alone or isolated. Well, I never fulfilled that dream of a cul-de-sac. In hindsight, I was actually pretty unrealistic. How could I possibly control what each city, state, and neighborhood did with their space? But I never stopped wanting a place for mothers to gather, a place where mothers could learn all about mothering from others who are at different stages of motherhood. And I also realized that by creating this space, not only can you get your questions answered, but some people can come to the place in the middle of the night at 2 or 3 in the morning and post their question. And I bet you anything there'll be another mother up looking through the forums ready to answer your question. As I was thinking about what I wanted to say about all about mothering, I received a text message from a good friend who has moved out of state. She had a medication question about a friend of hers who's pregnant. And she said, "Is XYZ medication safe during pregnancy?" I got back to her with the information she needed, and I thought to myself, see, this is another reason All About Mothering is going to be a great resource for moms. You will just be able to log on and find out the information, or you'll be directed to an expert who can help you with the answers. So here I am letting you know that on January 1st, 2017, I am opening up my virtual cul-de-sac, the All About Mothering membership site, where you can join us and become a member of a fabulous community. This is your online place to go that will help you navigate through the wonderful world of early mothering. I already have lots of information on breastfeeding in this site. I am fielding requests left and right from speakers who want to be a part of All About Mothering. And now it is my job to make decisions to bring you experts in their different fields. I am working hard to provide you with the best of the best. There is a bit of a catch, though. I am asking you to join this site before it is fully developed. At a certain point, I realized I just want to get it going. I just want to put it out there. I also realized how much more fun this will be if I have you along for the ride. I have been a founding member of some other businesses, and I have to say it's actually quite fun and quite special to be a founding member, to know that I had an opportunity to give my input about what I liked, what needed work, what could be added, how they could make it better. The price was always right at a greatly reduced fee. I knew going in that the site had some stuff there for me, but that it was not fully loaded. It was a privilege to be a part of something new and exciting, and I loved it. When the membership site opens up on January 1st, there'll be information there already. It will all be laid out in an easy-to-use roadmap, which I'm calling Your Pathway from Conception through Your Baby's First Year. Will it be complete by January 1st? Definitely not. Will I be adding a lot every month? Absolutely. Even when I think it will be done, it probably still won't be done, as there'll always be more stuff to add to it. Right now, there are some great videos by experts in their field. There's handouts for you to download, checklists for you to utilize to help you make decisions. And every week, I will have a 1-hour group Q&A session where you can interact with me and ask me questions about pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and breastfeeding. If I don't know the answer, I have friends who are experts in many different fields. These Q&A sessions will be recorded, and if you miss them, you can always listen to the playback. You will be entered into a private forum for membership site community only. You'll be able to participate in a monthly Google Hangout where you'll be able to interact with other members. You will also be entitled to a 25% discount on products and services offered by me. This is a very exciting time, and I hope that after listening to this show, you will head right on over to allaboutmothering.com/offer. That's allaboutmothering.com/offer. You will see the pricing, which is excellent, and honestly, such a bargain for founding members. In addition, to create some additional buzz and excitement, I'm giving away Target gift cards for the 25th person to sign up, the 50th person, the 75th person, and the 100th person who will get a $50 Target gift card. I am so excited for you to sign up and come along with me on this journey. As I was going back and forth in my mind trying to decide when to open up this site, and as I worried that it was not 100% complete, I overheard someone else quoting Walt Disney. And it was this quote which was so appropriate, and I took that as my signal to just do it. Here's the quote. The way to get started is to begin, to stop talking and begin doing. Walt Disney. Yep, I like that quote, and that's what motivated me to just say January 1st, we are on. Now, on to today's show. This is the second to last FAQ show. We sure have come a long way from the very first FAQ where I talked about what an IBCLC is and why I decided to become one. Sometimes, despite everything that you've learned, despite following everything that you know about early breastfeeding, well, sometimes you can get off to a rocky start. There are actually quite a few reasons why you can struggle with early breastfeeding. That's what we're going to talk about today. What if my baby won't breastfeed? There are several common scenarios that you might find yourself dealing with when you have a baby who is not breastfeeding well. Probably the most common reason for a hard start is a premature birth. When babies are born early, it can make it more difficult for them to breastfeed. There are other reasons, and they can be so numerous it's not helpful at this point to conjecture and give you a laundry list. Let's just say, if you have a baby that's not breastfeeding well, what we really want to say is, okay, well, this is the situation I find myself in. Now, what can we do about it? And this question, what can we do about it? I love this question because it's probably one of the most easiest questions I get to answer and one of the most popular questions that I think the answer really is what helps bridge the gap between moms giving up so early and moms succeeding. So the situation is you're a mom who just had a baby, your baby needs your milk, but cannot get it directly from the breast. Your very first priority is to follow another one of my many mantras, and that is feed the baby and protect the milk supply. Now, if you're new to breastfeeding, this may not make sense to you, but by the time we're done here today, it'll make a whole lot of sense. Feed the baby and protect the milk supply. The first choice for your baby to have is always your milk. If you do not yet have enough of your milk, then the next best choice is donor milk. More hospitals can now access donor milk, and you can talk to them about this. If your baby is not having any health issues and is in the room with you, and it is in the first 24 hours, you can try offering your milk from a spoon or a cup or a syringe. If your baby is still not interested in breastfeeding, using a bottle with a slow flow nipple is best. You will want to provide a pace feeding with your baby in an upright position. If your baby needs medical care in the NICU and not able to breastfeed or bottle feed, you will be given further information on how your baby will feed. So what I like about what I just said is, A, we're talking about the very first 24 hours, and I've given you some options which you can talk to your healthcare provider about. So you can hand express, you can use a spoon, a cup, or a syringe, or a bottle to feed your baby your milk or donor milk. Anytime your baby misses a feeding and gets milk from another method, you are going to need to remove the milk from your breasts. Hand expression is the best way to do this in the early days. I have a handout specific for this on the show notes page. It walks you through exactly what you need to do. If you are in the hospital, the IBCLC or a staff nurse should also be able to help you with hand expression. If this is not an option, then you will want to use a hospital-grade pump and pump for 15 minutes. Do both sides at the same time. For the purposes of this conversation regarding removing the milk, I will be using the word pumping, which to me means removing the milk whether by a breast pump, manual, electric, or by hand expression. It cannot be said enough times in several ways. It is very, very important for you to begin removing the milk for your baby. If your baby is still not breastfeeding by the second day, you will want to be pumping about 8 times a day. This is very important in establishing a good supply from the very beginning. Your baby should breastfeed within the first 6 hours of birth. If not, at some point, you will need to start removing the milk and continue this on a routine basis until your baby is breastfeeding well. The first day, you may only need to remove the milk 3 or 4 times. But if your baby is not removing the milk on a regular basis, by day 2, that's when you get on a routine of about every 3 hours, both sides, same time, for about 15 minutes. A very, very, very big tip here. Please do not become discouraged from the very first few pumping sessions. It will be normal for you to get nothing or just a few drops those first few times. As you continue pumping, your body will respond from the stimulation and the volume will increase. 10 drops the first pumping is likely to be 20 drops later that day. By the third day, you will likely be pumping about a half an ounce, and the volume will continue to increase each day. If for some reason you are not increasing small amounts each day that cumulatively are taking you from a quarter of a teaspoon to a tablespoon to a half an ounce to an ounce, you really will need to seek professional help. On the show notes page, you will be able to access a handout on pumping for a baby who is not breastfeeding, and it will include some really good pumping tips as well. So make sure you check out allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/podcast and check out the show notes. Here is some information to help get you started on bottle feeding if that's what you wind up doing. You will find that there are many opinions on how to go about supplementing a baby. I believe that if a baby who does not need medical care can be with your mom and yet still will not breastfeed or breastfeed well and does need milk on a regular basis, that after the first 24 hours, paced upright feeding with the bottle is best, at least until you can meet with an IBCLC who will then evaluate your situation and may change the feeding plan. You will want to learn as soon as possible why your baby is struggling to feed. You want to figure that out. Sometimes it's actually an easy fix, and other times there is lots more to learn. What I want you to know is that it's normal for a baby to want to latch on and breastfeed. Anytime they are not, and it's been longer than 48 hours and they're still not interested in breastfeeding, or they're interested but they keep falling asleep and they don't really feed at the breast, a good evaluation is necessary to get you on a feeding and pumping plan that is best for you and your baby. And until then, you are feeding the baby and protecting the milk supply, that lovely mantra I started off with. Now here's the thing. Bottles have gotten such a bad rap that some people stay away from them, even when it does not make good sense. The biggest concern I hear is that since a bottle is nothing like the breast, and since the milk comes so fast, the baby will get used to the bottle and reject the breast. While there definitely is some truth to that, I ask you to just take a look at the syringe or the cup or the spoon that you will be using. Does that look anything like the breast? Clearly, it does not. The way your baby needs to open their mouth and use their tongue when drinking from a syringe or a cup or a spoon, is that anything like what they need to do at the breast? The answer to both questions is no. In the show notes, you will find links that demonstrate bottle feeding in an upright position and a paced feeding session. These two actions are helping to slow down the feeding. The problem is with some of those other methods to do them on a regular, routine basis, there's lots of spillage I find for babies, and you are spending some incredible amount of time removing the milk from your breasts only to have it spill down the baby's chin, have them swat at the spoon, push the milk out. So there are other reasons why I like the bottle, but those are good enough reasons for me. What you want to do is offer your baby approximately the same amount as they would get at the breast. On day 1, most babies are getting about 5 to 7 milliliters per feeding. On day 2, approximately 7 to 12 milliliters per feeding. On day 3, 12 to 20 milliliters per feeding. It is important to note these are just guidelines. If your baby takes a bit less or a bit more, this is totally fine. You just want to be careful to provide a paced feeding and not overfeed your baby, which you are a lot less likely to do if you provide an upright and paced feeding. An average full-term baby gradually increases intake until they are taking about 30 to 45 milliliters by day 5. When offering milk from a bottle, hold the baby sitting upright and pace the feeding. Ask one of the nurses to teach you. They'll be happy to do so. In between feedings, do your best to spend as much time skin to skin with your baby. You will want to stay positive. As long as you have a well-fed baby and are removing the milk on a regular basis and increasing your supply, you can always work on breastfeeding. Do not be concerned about putting your milk in a bottle and feeding it to your baby. This is just temporary until your baby is old enough or ready enough to transfer milk directly from the breast. Just because you are needing to supplement does not mean that you stop trying to breastfeed. If at all possible, each feeding time should be started by you offering your baby the breast. However, if your baby either just cries or falls asleep, or it has been 10 minutes since feeding session began, that's about the time you want to offer your baby milk in a bottle until he's full. It does not help your baby learn how to breastfeed when you are spending long periods of time trying so hard to coax your baby to breastfeed, all while they are crying, arching their back, pushing away, or falling asleep at the breast. It usually doesn't get you too far. The goal is lots of skin to skin to keep your baby familiar with the breast, to always try at the beginning of a feeding. However, if there are no signs of your baby going on to having a good breastfeeding in 10 to 15 minutes, please do not make your baby wait a long time before feeding. Starving your baby and making them wait to get hydrated will rarely help them breastfeed. They actually become pretty cranky. If your baby is hungry, they will not breastfeed. There's probably a reason yet to be uncovered, and this is what your focus should be on. Finding out what the problem is and fixing it, not spending days and days on end with the baby refusing the breast, trying to figure out what is going on all on your own. Get help. And yes, my parting words on this subject are like a broken record. Again, my mantra: feed the baby, protect the milk supply. You can always work on breastfeeding. Seek help from an IBCLC if it has been longer than 24 hours with your baby not breastfeeding. Of course, you're going to keep working on breastfeeding until you can get in to see someone. And what if your baby does start breastfeeding during this time period? Hooray for you and hooray for your baby. If you are new to breastfeeding, I'm going to say it's probably still a good idea to keep your appointment. New parents always have many questions. You will benefit greatly from having a sit down with an IBCLC to review position and latch, ensure that it is optimal, discuss normal newborn breastfeeding behavior, and so many more topics that are new to you. I can't tell you how many times a mom has come in and said, you know what? I think we're actually on the mend. It's starting to work. And I was almost going to cancel, but I had a few more questions, so I thought we might just spend a little time together. And invariably, that consult still lasts a good hour or so with all the questions that moms have. It's totally normal. We've just never done this before. I would like for you to be sure to check out the show notes page for the additional handouts that I've discussed on this show. One's on upright paced feeding, tips on pumping, and a video on hand expression, so you can get all the information that you need just in case your baby is not breastfeeding well. Until the next show, bye-bye. Have you heard that Phoenix, Arizona is blessed with an amazing birthing center? Baby Moon Inn Birth Center is the best option for families who want access to midwifery care in and out of a hospital setting. You can experience birth in a comfortable home-like setting where natural birth is the focus. Laboring in water, being able to walk outside during labor, and enjoy the beautiful garden. This is what birth can be like for you. There is so much more to learn about Baby Moon. The staff would love to have the opportunity to meet you and would like to extend an invitation for you to attend a free Choices in Childbirth class and a tour of the birth center. All you need to do is call 602-314-7755. That's 602-314-7755 and ask for the tour dates. You can also go to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/podcast, and on the right-hand side of the page, you will see a link that will bring you to the calendar, and you can sign up for the tour yourself. When you come in for the tour, make sure that you tell them you found out about it from the All About Breastfeeding podcast, and you will be given a very lovely free gift.